Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. Alright, and what I want to get into this morning, dealing with the book of Isaiah chapter 51 and verse 2. Okay, and going into how, we're the children of the promise. The Lord, established a promise with a certain lineage, okay, of men in the planet Earth, man. Okay, and those men were the sons of God, all right, and the children, that will come from that lineage, the men, women, all right, and children that will come from that lineage will be the children of promise, because as we're speaking about, their remnant in the scriptures, we speak about the elect, okay, in the scriptures. Well, that's referring to a lineage. It's a remnant that comes from a certain lineage. It's an elect that comes from a certain lineage, man. Okay, and that lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, okay, which ultimately is the lineage of the sons of God. Okay, so when you go into the book of Isaiah, okay, you go to Isaiah 51 and 2, it says, "Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah that bare you, for I called him alone, and blessed him, and increased him." Okay, so when you go into Abraham, well, he was called, he was separated from amongst all men. Adam, he was separated from the men of the earth at that time and given their breath. Abraham, he was certain, he was even go to Noah. Noah was a son of God that was separated from the other sons of God during his time, all right, to be shown favor in Yahweh Bashem Shai. Abraham, he was separated, okay, amongst, the wickedness of his time, you see, to receive favor from Yahweh Bashem Shai. And now, us in this time, all right, we've been separated from a wicked society. We're being separated from a wicked society for the Lord to have favor, man. Okay? That's why I said, "Look unto Abraham your father, and to Sarah that bare you, for I called him alone," which means he was separated from a wicked world. Enoch, he was translated. The earth was wicked because they was leading up into the flood. Okay? So ultimately, you see our forefathers, they were all separated for greatness, man. Okay? When you go here to the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 3, 2nd Ezra 3, and I started 13. I started 12. It says, "And it happened that when they that dwell upon the earth began to multiply," and this was after the flood, "and had gotten them many children, and were a great people, they began again to do more wickedly than the first. Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Adam." Okay, so Adam was chosen and separated, all right, for the Lord to show favor upon him, man. You see? And it says, verse 13 again says, "Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. Him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showedest thy will." Okay, now what is it? Shalaki. But what does that sound similar to? Him only thou lovest, him only thou showedest thy will. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? The same thing that was said to his descendants, which are Israelites. Okay, when you go to Psalms, when you go Psalms 147 and 19, it says, "He showed his word unto Jacob, and his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as far as his judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai." So just as Abraham was separated and shown the will of the Lord, well, he did that for the seed of Abraham, okay, which was Jacob, which are the Israelites, man. Okay? So Abraham was separated from greatness. Okay, their lineage, the sons of God, was separated from greatness, man. The tribes, okay, was separated from greatness. The elect of the tribes in this time have been separated from greatness, man. Okay, because what did he when you go here to Jeremiah 3, okay. Matter of fact, before we get there, let's get into Abraham, a little bit more on Abraham. So you go to Genesis 17. All right, get to the point. Genesis 17:6, and it says, "And I will make thee exceeding fruitful." Okay, and this is Most High speaking to Abraham. So this is Abraham getting promised. All right, favor of being fruitful. His seed was going to become a nation, a whole nation of people, and will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. That's rulership. Because if you're a birthing king, or in order to birth a king, you have to be a king yourself. So he's promising Abraham rulership, a dynasty, not only him ruling, but his seed ruling as well. Okay? And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed, okay, and thy seed after thee in their generation for an everlasting covenant, to be a power unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Okay? And to thy seed after thee. You see? So it was a promise made to a lineage. Okay? And this was rulership. And this was an eternal rulership. That's why kings are going to come from Israelites non-stop. Okay? Your great, okay, grandson, okay, is going to grow up and have a throne to sit on. Okay? He's going to have a province to rule. You see? So this is the favor shown to Abraham. But he had to be separated and then shown that favor, man. You know? That's why the Lord calls us what? To be separated. And then he begins to what? Show that favor. And it only increases, man. You know, that favor is only going to increase until we're in the actual kingdom. Okay? So that's why you go here. And it's through faith. Because it takes faith to go through that separation. You know, Abraham had to be separated from his father's house. Which there was security, there was certainty. There was an inheritance. Okay? To begin to follow the Most High. Okay? Which he didn't know fully what it was going to lead to. He just believed. You see? So it took faith for Abraham to separate, you know, from his father's house and begin to have trust in Yahweh Bashim Shai. But he was favored for that. He got favor for that, man. You see? So when you go to the book of Acts, okay? It's Acts chapter 4 and verse no, not Acts. Romans. So like it's the book of Romans, chapter 4. It's the book of Romans, okay, chapter 4 and verse 13. I'm reading NLT. Said clearly, the Most High's promise to give the whole earth to Abraham and his descendants was not based on his obedience to the Most High's law, but on a right relationship with the Most High that comes by faith. Now, it doesn't mean that he didn't obey the law. You know, he kept it to the best of his ability. Okay? But what made him have favor was that faith. You see, that's when the favor kicked in, was during the faith. You know, when he showed faith, when he was willing to sacrifice Isaac, that's when faith came. I mean, that's when the favor came, after he showed that faith. You know? So he was given the whole world based off his faith, just by believing. And Lord willing, we endure. We're going to get the whole world just based off faith, off believing. Of course, we rehearse the righteous acts to the best of our ability. Okay? But what's going to grant us favor? Okay? What's going to grant us glory in these promises of Abraham? We're going to have to believe like Abraham, man. Okay? Because I say these Christians speak about the faith of Abraham, the faith of Abraham. Well, Abraham had faith that his nation was going to be in rulership. Okay, Abraham had faith that Yahweh Shai was going to be King of Kings and Lord of Lords in the earth. Okay, an eternal righteous rulership. That's the faith that Abraham had. He didn't just have no random faith. No, he had faith in specific things. Okay, that his seed will become, all right, a mighty nation of rulers, man. Kings shall come out of thee. That's what Abraham believed. You know. So when you go from there, because as Abraham was told, what king shall proceed out of thy bowels. All right. Well, when you go here, the Lord had to set up for a remnant to be chosen and separated. All right, a predestined remnant. Okay, that were chosen from the beginning. All right, and in these latter times, we will be separated. You know, to come into the Lord's favor, just as Abraham did, man. All right. So when you go to Jeremiah 3:15, it says, I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge. Salaki. Verse 14. So used to read 15 so much. Jeremiah 3:14, it says, turn, O backsliding children. Okay, and this is when we're separated. Because to turn, because we turn from the path that everyone else is going. And we turn back to our power, which creates a separation. When we turn back to our power, that's the separation. You know, so us turning back to Yahweh B'Shem Shai, that separates us from the masses, man. Separates us from the traditions of the family, you know. Heavily into, most of our families are heavy into the church and heavy into voting or whatever they was into. Okay, but when we turn to Yahweh B'Shem Shai, where there's a separation by default. Okay, so it says turn back. You see? Sliding, it says, oh, backsliding children. It says turn, it's like it says, turn, oh, backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and will bring you to Zion. Because Abraham, he was one of a family. It was just him that was chosen out of his family. Okay? So he said, I will take one of a city and two out of the family. That's symbolic of the elect being extrapolated and separated from the rest of the nation. In this time, man, you know, to receive their favor. Because how it ends in the promises that was given to Abraham, man. Okay? A global rulership. You know, he was given the whole earth. Okay? So you go to those. Okay, then follow. And you go here to Revelation. So what's going to be the fulfillment in Revelation 5 and I started at 9. It says, and they sung a new song. Okay, saying, thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. Okay? So this is the elect. You know, we're singing because we're proof that Yahweh Shai loosed the seals, the understanding of the Bible. You know, through the Holy Spirit, Yahweh Shai, he gonna loose the seals. Through the sacrifice that he made, he was worthy to loose the seals. And us singing this new song, okay, this doctrine, okay, teaching his word is evidence that he did that. You know, we have the receipt. The prophets are the receipt. You know, Lord, will we endure, man, and we, all right, are of their number, man. Okay, the prophets are the receipt that Yahweh Shai loosed the seals. And it says, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to the Most High by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. Okay, and this is speaking of the tribes, man. Because we've been scattered, all right, and our people have been, you know, amongst these other nations in the mingling. You know, the men of Israel have been intermingling with, different women, and where we were scattered. So you have Israelites looking like other nations and speaking their language with their lineage through the seed of their father. Okay, it goes back to the sons of God, man, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And that's why you get this word kindred. Okay.
Strong's G 5443. Fule.
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 Okay. Now you go into the definition. All right, definition 8. It says in the New Testament, all the persons descended from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. Okay? In the New Testament, all the persons descended from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. So these kindreds that it's speaking of are descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man. The children of the promise. Okay? And this is showing you that this was speaking of the same lineage, because this was promised to Abraham and Jacob. Okay, when you read verse 10, and has made us unto our power kings. Kings shall proceed out of thy bowels. So this is revelation, the fulfillment of that. That remnant that was separated are going to come into the fulfillment of what was told to Abraham in Genesis 17 chapter. Okay? It has made us unto our power kings and priests, and we shall reign in the earth. Okay? So Abraham was separated from greatness. Lord will, we of that number, we've been chosen out. Okay? From amongst our people to be separated from greatness, man. So that's the point. Just wanted to get into that. Lord will, you brothers. Alright, and you sister was edified. Till next time I say shalom. Going about shalom. Abba, Shalom.